Real life. So it's about decision making. Am I making a decision that could be seen that someone is getting more favourable treatment over another? And is it likely that the person that was less will consider themselves to have been less favourably treated? Will they take it further and believe that they have been discriminated against? Is there a protected characteristic anywhere in this scenario? That's your first, and there probably usually is, because we've all got an age and we've all got a gender. But it's thinking things through as you make your decisions in normal working life, and making records as to why you've made those decisions. Certainly the selection one. We had, was it last year, a chap that was going around sending CVs into companies. Did you hear this one where he had John Brown on one CV and his real name on the other, and people were rejecting his other CV to come in for interview, but were asking the John Brown to come in for interview? And this guy got quite a lot of money, I think, if I remember rightly, until the tribunal, they all got together and said, right, we're stopping this chap, because he's doing it for a vindictive reason. But it certainly proved a bit of a point.
To follow up on that, what the tribunal said was that if you're going to make a claim for not getting a job, you've actually got to demonstrate that you were genuinely applying
That's right.
for the job.
Yeah.
As opposed to
and he was just doing it for pocket money. So records. The other thing that for me, going back to work, grievances. I think handling grievances is a very important part of being in management. And certainly under the Equality Act, if it's starting to worry you, whether it's certainly in the harassment side, or if it possibly could be because someone's saying, I think I was treated less favourably, your alarm bells will be ringing. But any grievance should be treated with the seriousness it deserves. But keep the records on the grievances. I know it's sometimes an informal chat where they just come up and say, I'm not very happy, but keep your records, keep some records behind the scenes. Dated, and if it's a formal grievance, make sure that you're getting them to sign off on what you've agreed is going to be the solution, and do a follow-up and get some signatures at that point as well. So policies back at the workplace. If you've got handbooks at work, employee handbooks, so you will have some kind of equal opportunity policy, and in that you can make some tweaks with regards to the Equality Act if you haven't already done so. And the harassment, if you've got a harassment policy, and you may want to think about writing something about harassing clients, or if they feel that clients are harassing them, to obviously get it into not necessarily the grievance procedure straight away, but straight to a manager. Of course you need all your managers trained. Now, these are my hotspots. I think that there will be several more, but if you have any of these in your remit back at the workplace, try and think about the Equality Act, about protected characteristics, about less favourable treatment, and all the defences you can have for making decisions, choosing one thing over another, one person over another. The way you advertise, we've all heard about the classic youthful and energetic person wanted for this position. Age discrimination, and also be careful when you say about qualifications required for this job. If you say GCSEs, that's also age discrimination, so it's or equivalent in terms of qualifications. So the wording of adverts, and if you're using a recruitment agency, and this is something I really need to check on, but recruitment agencies, they should be well up on this law as well if they are acting on your behalf, because it's very often that I find some recruitment agency has put an advert up in my name without me knowing about it, and it's on some job board, and I had no control over that. I had no, my problem was that they'd spelled things wrong and put caps when they shouldn't have caps. But have a look at that when you're using recruitment agencies. Your interviewing process. Try and have a formal document of formal questions, not the rambling when managers go in and they say, yeah, I'll go and find out whether we want them to work here or not, and they go in with literally nothing but just make notes. So essentially they could be asking the two candidates completely different questions, and that's very hard to get managers out of the habit of doing. They don't like to be constricted sometimes. Choosing salary increases, tricky. Check why you're giving one person more than another. So same with bonuses, the same with benefits. If you've got different benefit packages for different people of different ranks and in the hierarchy. Access to training and the promotions. Promotions tends to be quite sticky if you have someone very disappointed for not getting it. I've got hotter spots here. This is the one that worries me. We've got line manager behaviour. How big is your companies? Go around the table.
I'm looking at accountants. It's very small, but we have a line manager.
One line manager, and yourself?
40 employees.
Right.
That's 350.
And your managers, how many sort of managers have you got to manage all of those?
Well, it's a school, so it's very different.
Oh, yeah. Gosh. Yeah. But you shouldn't have too much teasing and banter going on in that area, or perhaps you do back in this staff room. How does it work?
Yeah, I mean, there is to a certain extent.
Yeah. The thing is, the situation here is that you want a culture in your company, and you want the culture to be productive, and you want your employees to be engaged in your workplace and enjoy coming to work in the mornings. And to help that, there needs to be some human element to coming to work, so that we're not all robots and only talk to each other about work. So you've got to have the human interface, but when it crosses over a certain line into one person in particular always gets teased when they come in late, and the manager's joining in. They laugh it off for maybe the first 3 months, and then one day they don't laugh it off. Yeah. So you can't tell when someone's going to find something offensive, and then suddenly they think it's suddenly become intimidating. You don't know what's going on. But line managers can be part of the problem, but they can also be very much a solution. So they would be the ones I'd be having and doing the training with straight away. They need to be looking to make sure that there's no cross-employee harassment or bullying of any kind. And then they themselves obviously would be aware of their own actions, because it can have quite a big effect on the vulnerable. You've also got the training needed to the managers that let some people come in late without any kind of, doesn't matter at all, because, known you a long time and like you, so it's no problem, that's fine. But then when someone else comes in late, immediately they're called into an office and there's strong words. So is that individual ever going to call that into question? Is there going to be any kind of going on there? And the encouraging and condoning or inducing other people to carry out any kind of unlawful act, line managers can be brought up on that. Even the sending to Coventry, and I've had this experience where line managers, they get to the end of their wits, and so they're not going to speak to their employee for the rest of the day. Yeah, believe me. So you've got that, which can be from an employee now. Well, probably always, but now even more. They can make something out of that. So it's about trying to keep your culture, keep your friendliness, keep that whatever kind of feel you have in your organisation, which is why you have people stay working for you and enjoy coming to work. But just spot if anyone's reactions suddenly start changing to the general normal banter. And if you have a new employee start work for you and they're not used to the type of chit-chats that's going on and the general joviality, check on that. Don't forget the clients. This is a worry because you can't be with them all the time. But what are you going to do if a client brings a claim onto the, or at least just makes a complaint and says, "I believe I've been harassed by a member of your staff"? I mean, I would think that most companies have a complaints procedure, which is going to be just fine. But the person that deals with those complaints is going to have to know about, there's some, the issues of protected characteristics, obviously, discrimination and harassment. So make sure that you've got that person sorted on equality. And the grievances, that's what I was saying about complaints. And coming back in when they're being bullish with your employees, and your employee comes to you and says, "I just can't take it anymore." You've got a stress issue which comes under health and safety, but you possibly might have an equality issue there as well. So if you have call centres, or if you have traffic wardens under your remit, let me know, because I'd be very interested to see how you get on. Hidden discrimination, I think, is one of the main things coming out of the Equality Act. I'm calling it hidden, no one else is. I'm just concerned about keeping my mind in on issues that could be arising from disability. And I don't necessarily know if someone's classed as disabled. They wouldn't necessarily have to tell me to do their job. But then when an issue is reoccurring and I'm thinking I'm going to have to tackle this, I need to check in on whether there's reasons for the behaviour, the conduct, the timekeeping, before I go ahead and make some decisions about any disciplinary or perhaps anything else. The same thing with because of association. We don't necessarily know what goes on in our employees, our colleagues' home lives and their volunteering activities perhaps, looking after someone in the community, which is affecting what they do at work, but just do more talking before you jump into any decisions. People may feel that they should be classed as disabled now, because of the way that the definition has changed. I'm not sure whether we'll see a lot more. It'll be interesting, but you don't have to prove there's a problem with your manual dexterity necessarily, or your continence, or your speech. It doesn't have to be speech, it doesn't have to be hearing, it could be just anything really. So we'll see what else comes out of that. And of course when you're dealing with people in the workplace, you can't ever assume. Making assumptions about people because of the way they dress, because of their size, because of the way they talk, because of the colour of their skin, all of this. So we know that perception is wrong when making decisions. But coming back to the beginning, as I said, discrimination law has seriously been around for 30 years. So the Equality Act, it has got some changes in it, and it is trying to put right the fact that the first few discrimination acts were in 1975 and then 2006, 2007, and the way they've been worded and the way that the lawyers have to do things and the tribunal can make decisions on, they've been disparate over the years. So it's all come together in one place. Not a lot of changes, but a couple of tweaks there. And if you have concerns that you think that discrimination or anything harassment's going on, then it's worth investigating now while it's still fresh. But if it doesn't go on, you've got nothing to worry about. Check your policies, update your handbook perhaps if you haven't already done it, and maybe do a little bit of line management training.